Good morning. Oh, I didn't even notice that it was live. Hi, everybody. Y'all, I feel like talking today. So I'm going to give it like 30 seconds to see if anybody will join me. If not, I will still get started because, I don't know, I'm feeling like yesterday's live was amazing, but there was so much more that I wanted to say. Hi, Dira. Welcome in, my love. There was just so much more that I wanted to say, so much more that I didn't get to when I was doing my workout this morning. And halfway through it, I just felt inspired. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go live. So we're here. So happy Thursday. It's a beautiful day over here. Y'all, human design in children, I don't think I give enough credit to like the power of the tool. And after that conversation yesterday, if you haven't watched the replay, I would encourage you to go watch it. Literally, that conversation yesterday put so much in perspective for me, because it basically made me question why I do what I do. If you know me and you've been hanging around long enough, or even if you don't, you would know my passion is inner child healing. My passion literally is, I call them the little Jordys of the world. It's literally empowering women, but my mission really is the children. Is helping the children at home. It's helping mom to be better so that the home environment can be better, so that she can succeed and thrive and create a better example for the children. So I typically don't go that deep because, you know, I've had multiple instances where people have said, you're not a mom. You don't get it, right? And on yesterday's live, when I was talking about human design and how beneficial it is for children, I caught myself doubting myself. And if you watched it, Julie actually checked me, which I appreciated. So good old projectors coming in and pointing out the shit you don't want to see. But now that I've seen it, I want to talk about it and I want to go deeper. So more than likely you will catch the replay. So definitely comment #replay. If you're live, thank you for being here. I love you. But I want to talk about human design in general, and then the benefits with your children, and also why I care so much. Like, why do I even care about these children? Girl, yes, projectors are terrifying. She literally zoomed in on exactly what I needed. But here's the thing. So human design as a science is literally astrology, Kabbalah, I Ching, the chakra system, and quantum physics. So literally is a picture of who you are, and it goes super, super in depth. I mean, looking at your chart, I could tell you the way that you think, the way that you learn, the way that you should be eating, where your energy lies, what you love to do, what you don't, where you might struggle in life. And it literally can give so much help to a grown person when I sit in a reading with them and they start crying because they're like, oh my goodness, I feel validated. I feel like this was always me and I just didn't have the words. And I'm like, do you understand that you're born like this? So your children have a human design chart too. And the beauty of it is that from the moment they take their first breath, you could look at their chart and you could learn about them. What I mean by that is, what are their needs? What are their strengths? Where might they struggle in life that you as a parent might want to help them through? And the reason this even came to be, because again, I wasn't sure. I wanted to go deeper into children, but I can't help it. It's literally my entire purpose is helping the kids, right? But the reason I wanted to go deeper is because I don't think people realize how much you could see in the chart, and also how much you could preemptively prepare for, how much you could set in place for your kid so that they thrive, so that they literally step into their best version. And a couple of things that come up there is their learning style. Like if your child is not somebody who's going to want to play well with kids, or maybe they don't learn in an environment where they feel cluttered and like there's a lot of people, yes, that's not the vibe. The thing is that society and the world currently as it stands is designed around the median. So there's like the bottom performing, the top performers, and then there's the median. And the thing about the median is that 70% of the world are generator types. What that means, hey Magali, what that means is literally that the median is the average. The average out of 70% more than likely is going to be a kid who has energetic traits, like my God, my brain just passed. Like the generator types, right? So what that means is generator kids have a lot of energy. They can do 8-hour days. They don't need a whole lot of breaks. They can literally they amplify the energy of the room. They like being in groups. They like sitting down and doing this stuff. Like school was created for them. Government, the design of every structure that we have was built around generator types. Like working 9 to 5 is the same model as school, meaning you are literally training your children so that they can hold down a job. And the thing about the job is we end up overworking, we end up overdoing it, weekends, holidays, no time off. And the reason why is because we learned it from the time that we were children. Now, what if one of your babies is less than 30%, meaning a projector, a reflector, or a manifester, and they don't have the consistent energy to keep up with everything? Immediately, that kid might struggle. That kid might really, really have a hard time fitting in. That kid might be more tired than usual, more irritable than usual, more frustrated than usual, right? But you wouldn't know that unless you looked at their chart. Now, to add to that, imagine that you have multiple kids and one of them is a generator and then the other one, let's say projector, right? The way that they interact will literally affect the child's development. And at home, if mom and dad having their own design, right? Let's say that one of you is a non-energy type. You might not be able to keep up with the generator kids. Or if you are the generator parent and they're a non-energy type, they would really, really struggle to listen, to like follow the model that you set. And a lot of us, and I'm not a parent, I will say that prefacing, but I think that's a beautiful thing that I'm not, because my perspective is coming from the child, right? So my mother was a manifestor type, or is a manifestor type, she's still alive. And then I am a generator. So imagine this bubble of energy just jumping around like, woohoo, I want to do all the things. And my mom being completely overwhelmed by me. I drained her. She was tired. She was frustrated. She would get angry. She didn't know what to do because I have energy all the time. I would go to bed and wake up the next day brand new, ready to go. And the world was built for people like me. Now, the thing my mom did is she tried to put me in a box to keep me safe, right? And I want to empower you to understand that you don't have to do that. Because if you understand your child, their needs, how they think, how they learn, where they come from, what their needs are, and you create an environment at home where they have access to that, it could literally change the trajectory of their lives. And I want to put a lot of emphasis in that because the reason I'm so passionate about this is because I was the kid that was misunderstood, that was made to fit in a box, that was made to conform. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work because now I'm a grown up and there's all this trauma that I had to overcome. Literally married my trauma, have gone through divorce, abusive relationships, starting a business, not knowing what I'm doing, all of these fears and doubts and insecurities that were literally placed there because I was trying to mold myself so that I could make my mom and dad happy. Now, again, I'm talking from the child's perspective, but I want you to picture a child who is struggling. And the conversation I had with Julie yesterday was beautiful because she has a reflector child. That's literally hitting home for her, right? The thing that was going on with her kid is he's struggling in school and he was having issues like managing his mood or whatever. And I don't want to get too personal, but kids who are open like that, they are so affected by their environment. They are so affected by the people around them. And she talks about how he has siblings and cousins, and when they all hang out, he's overwhelmed. I'm like, no wonder. That kid needs space. He needs a room. He needs a break. He needs to isolate from time to time. Like he needs a little safe corner where he can just be for an hour or two a day. Now, if your child's environment is caves, they also need space. They also need to be alone. If they're non-energy types, they need to retreat. They need to go to bed before they're tired. They need time away from electronics. They literally need to just sit in nature and be. And it's wild because society and the way we're moving, it's literally detaching the parent from paying attention to what their kid needs. And I say that from a place of love, but you know what? I don't hold back because I care, right? My mom was home, sure, but my mom was not present. And this is before electronics. I'm talking, my mom was doing a master's. She was getting ready for work. She was busy helping everybody else while the rest of us were at home suffering. And now technology has made it so easy that people can literally sit on their phones and disassociate for 3 hours, and the children are growing up unattended. So I want to bring awareness to how much human design can help because I feel like people don't really understand the depth of it. So if you're talking about generational trauma, how it's passed down from like one parent to you and then you to your child and so on, did you know that children's designs literally come from their grandparents? Yeah. What that means is that the same pattern you may have had with a parent is going to play out in your home with your child. So when you're trying to make your kid fit the model that you know, It's not going to work. They're going to be different from you. And even if they are the same, you're still going to have the predisposition to have the same rift, right? So imagine something that you may not have worked out with mom or dad. Guess where you're going to learn that lesson? With your child. They're going to test you, and it's going to look different, but it's going to feel exactly the same, where you almost feel powerless and you're like, oh, I don't know how to handle this thing. Number 2, illness. Your child, they might be beautiful and bright when they're little, but over time of trying to operate in a way that they're not designed to operate, it turns into illness. It turns into ADD, OCD, ADHD, all the letters that they're throwing around nowadays. Those are children being made to fit in a model that they were not designed for. And the reason I want to bring awareness to that is because nowadays, doctors just throw medicine at it, put them on pills from a very young age, and you don't think about the developmental stages of these children and what the medication is doing to them. And I'm not here to judge, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, but there is a better way. You could literally create an environment where your kid feels safe to be who they are. Yes, Dira. And even how to regulate their emotions. Little people have big feelings. They just don't have the words or the tools to know what to do with those feelings, right? So as the parent, the trauma is not your fault. We know that, but it is your responsibility to heal. Because what happens is you pass it on to your child, and then they pass it on to their child, and it just continues until somebody wakes up and says, wait, this is not working. So avoiding illness, or at least decreasing it to an extent, because if they don't have any excess energy, they're going to just thrive. They're going to be themselves. They're going to be happy and healthy, right? Generational patterns, you might become aware of them a lot sooner before they get to the stages where they're teenagers or they move out and you never get to solve that issue. Another thing, kids have different strengths. You know how there's a child that's like super creative, and then another one that's figuring out numbers, and another one that likes to play with trucks or wants to be an engineer or whatever? Play to their strengths. A lot of times we grew up, and I'm going to speak for myself because that's all I can do, in a situation where I was told who I needed to be and what I needed to do. And my home is, you're going to college. You're going, whether you want to or not. And I need you to get a degree, and I need you to be successful, and you don't need to need any man. You got to work for yourself. And all of that mentality created a lot of pressure. So what that looked like is I went to college at 18. Okay, so Dira, you get it. So I went to college at 18. Y'all, I hated it. My first semester and my second semester, I flunked out. And I was like, oh, I'm a terrible child. On my birthday, I got the letter telling me you got to be out for 6 months. You can't do it. So fast forward, got the record sponged. I got back in, started over, 18 credit hours away. I quit college. It wasn't for me. Shortly after that, I moved to Texas, and then I married my trauma. And when I said I married my trauma, I'm talking about abuse personified. Granted, I'm not going to sit here and play the victim, but when I grew up believing I needed a degree and I couldn't achieve that, I was already a failure. So when marriage showed up, I was like, at least I can do this. I can be a wife, I can be a mom, I can give my parents grandbabies, and it's unconscious programming that happened over time that created that narrative that I lived out, right? Imagine if as a child I had just been empowered to go to what I wanted to do. And if they had literally, you're cracking me up, girl. If they had literally empowered me to just do the things I wanted to do. When I was little, I used to love to dance. I used to love to move, to sing, do plays, acting. I was very creative, very fun, very loud. I used to take up space. And all I really wanted was to be free. I just wanted to travel. I just wanted to serve and perform. And obviously Leo rising, I couldn't hide it, right? But can you imagine if someone had fostered that? And they actually asked me, what do you want to do? What would make you happy? Not only that, but they created an environment where I could just develop my skills and get better and better and better. I guarantee you, human design, I would have found it a lot sooner. I started in astrology at 15, and I had to hide the books from my mom because they were deeply, deeply religious. So the upbringing and the box and the home environment was designed with the best my parents had. You know, they had the know-how, they had the tools of how they grew up, but they had no idea what to do with a kid like me. And it wasn't just me, it was also my brother, and it was also my sister and their strengths and what they loved. My brother was born and he just knew he wanted to be a doctor. He literally stabbed me with a syringe when I was 3 years old. We knew that was his path, right? My sister, numbers, money, finances, her strengths were different. Me, artistic expression and moving around and being playful and dancing. Every child literally is different. Now, what my mom and dad did, and I'm not judging in any way, is they try to parent us all the same way. Now, the issues, if you will, that we grew up with are completely different, but we all came up in the same house. Now, imagine you having 3 children, and they have completely different types, completely different strengths, completely different makeups, and you're trying to make them all fit into the same box. It's just not going to work. So I want to encourage you to open up to something new. Because the thing about therapy and doctors and all the things is, yes, it works, absolutely. They throw pills at the thing, he has ADD. They throw pills at the things, that's ADHD. Oh, your kid is depressed. Oh, that's bipolar. Y'all, society, it's already doing a number on children's development. By the age of 7, most kids have phones nowadays. And did you know that children until 7 years old, they're wide open? They're just a sponge. They can't dispute anything. Everything is true. They just take everything you say as a fact. Imagine that child being exposed to the internet before 7 years old. And then from 7 to 14, they're creating their defense mechanisms. Imagine that same child in social media watching things that we hadn't seen until we were like in our teens or 20s, right? You have to be aware that society is not slowing down. It's up to you to create a home where they feel safe to be themselves, where they don't have to seek out information somewhere else and learn it the wrong way. Because for someone like me, it looked like a lot of freaking hardship in my life. It really did. And the reason that I care is because if I had just had these tools and I could have handed them to my mom and been like, Mom, this is who I am, this is what I need, I guarantee you life would have been a lot easier, because self-trust, confidence, boldness, all the things that like you want to give your child, you want them to feel powerful and to not be afraid and to be willing to ask for what they need and to take up space. But a lot of times, because you never allowed it for yourself, you don't know how to give it to your child. I can help. Human design can help. So I dropped a question box yesterday, and I also did that live with Julie. I encourage you to ask some questions. I encourage you to pull your kids' charts. I encourage you to learn something new and find out, because what you're going to find is that in 5 minutes, I could tell you more about your child than probably any therapist could. And I don't even have to talk to them. I can just see their chart and I can literally tell you about it. And the thing about it is, it might really change the dynamic you're having at home, especially if you're finding that they're having issues in school, that they're having issues regulating their emotions, that they're having issues learning. Y'all, small tweaks. Everybody's not designed to eat at the table with mom and dad every night. Some kids need to eat alone and in silence. Some kids need to go to bed before they're tired. Some, you need to let them tire out. Some kids are independent. Some kids are not. You don't have to guess. You don't have to live 10 years before you see it. I could just tell you. I could just tell you, hey, this is the environment they thrive in. This is how they learn. This is what they need. Now, as a projector child, for example, they need words of affirmation. They need to feel seen. They need to be recognized, and not for what they can do, but for who they are. So if you have a projector child, tell them how much you love them. Tell them how smart they are, how confident they are, how you admire when they do X, Y, Z. If you have a generator child, let them play. A manifesting generator, let them try all the things. Them being curious and doing all the things is actually really, really good for their development. For a generator, teach them to trust themselves. Teach them to trust their gut. And when they have a full body, yes, I want to do that, let them. Don't clip their wings. If that really is where they want to go, I guarantee you they are magnetic. They can have anything they want, but they need to learn to trust themselves. Manifestor children, they need alone time. They need creativity. Encourage them to speak, especially speak, because their feelings, what happens for manifestors is they end up shutting down because they're not allowed to express themselves because they come across very bold and like a leader. I will be completely honest with you. If you have a manifestor child, they're going to parent you. It's not the other way around. So imagine knowing that and being able to create an environment where they get to do that in a safe space, where a manifestor child talking back doesn't mean I beat them up. It means, oh, they have issues and they're trying to share them with me. Let me pick up what they're trying to say instead of attacking my child, right? And it's if you have a reflector child in particular, those kids need you the most. They are literally completely open to the world, completely open to people, environment, situations, and those are the children that need the most attention. But I encourage you, pull their chart, find out. Let's have a conversation. And I think I'm going to start making more content around the development of children, because what I've learned is I'm always treating the inner child with the adult. But what if I could teach you how the inner child even developed, and you could heal along with your children at the same time? Because when you change, and I'll give you this story as reference of how this is coming about for me. I had a memory yesterday of me trying on clothes with my mom. And this was, I was maybe, 14, 13. And my mom was like, oh, I'm fat, it doesn't look good. I look great in my jeans. But now I find myself trying on clothes and feeling the way my mom felt in that dressing room. And there was a belief that was formed in my mind in order to relate to my mom, I couldn't be fit. Or a memory of me standing on a scale in public and it saying you were overweight. Or a memory of my mom trying to give me food to soothe me and me emotionally just taking it all down. And again, I'm working on my weight loss, if you can't tell, right? But all of these memories are what created this thing. They're what created the problem and the addiction to food and the wanting to use food to numb my feelings. Imagine if you were aware your kid they're very prone to addiction, or they're very prone to being really emotional and not know what to do with it. You could equip them to talk. You could equip them to go there, to learn how to communicate their feelings. Hey, they might even need therapy early. But instead of putting all the money and energy towards what is this illness? What do we label it? Can I throw drugs at it? I've literally seen children at 4 and 5 years old on medication for life. Do you know how wild it is to me that your brain is development? Like, it's literally in its baby stages and you're already throwing drugs at it to try to mold it? That's heartbreaking. I think I'm going to leave it there. There's a lot more that I want to say, but I don't want to take all the time. I just want to encourage you to ask questions. I want to encourage you to go deeper, and I don't care if I trigger you, because I love you enough to do that. And I love your child enough to do that. And it's okay if I trigger you, because if I pissed you off but change your life, I did my job. If I at least trigger the interest in you to be like, man, there has to be a better way, and you find resources for your child, I did my job. And I've always had a passion for Disney, literally named my business after Moana, but not Moana the grown-up, Moana the baby that was by the ocean, because that is how I see life. I see the inner child. I see those babies, and I'm literally watching society just break it all down, and I'm tired of not speaking up. And for me, what was holding me back is I'm not a parent. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The super nanny, this is something Julie said yesterday. She wasn't a mom and she helped hundreds of families. So you know what? I'm going to speak up. And before I wrap up, because obviously I could go on for a minute, I want to tell you about 2 things. Number 1 is, if this is speaking to you and you pulled your kid's chart and you want a little bit of advice, a little bit of feedback, let me know. If you want a full reading to go in depth, I also offer those. Send me a DM and let's connect. And number 2, I'm going to be having what do you call it? I guess it's an event. We're going to be doing a line and release event this afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern. And it's literally going to be human design. We're going to be working on the spleen, which is the center for fear, intuition, well-being, and time. And basically anything that's blocking you around fear, anything that's overwhelming you, where you're not trusting yourself, where your intuition feels blocked, we're going to be clearing that up today. So I'm going to be teaching you, and then we're going to have Kate Simpson, and she's going to come in and actually release the energetic hold that thing has on you. So I encourage you, if that's speaking to you, to send me a DM as well. I'm going to drop the link in my link tree as well. But I encourage you, DM me, let's connect, ask me questions, let's get deep, because honestly, you guys, I don't want you to not have the information because I'm afraid to show up. So I'm going to leave it there. I love you all, and I will be talking way more about this. I'm feeling led to just serve. And that's all. I love you guys. Take care.